Have you ever wondered what would happen if Sanji was ever reborn with all of his memories and powers intact? Could he grow stronger? Could he prevent all the tragedies from happening and save everyone? And how much would he change the entire story? Well, to answer any of those questions, we must answer the one that is going through your mind right now. How would he even be reborn? Well, during the Egghead arc, Sanji was face to face with Saint J. Garcia Saturn and Admiral Kizaru. He got paralyzed by Saturn's demonic power and took a very heavy hit to the head, causing him to spurt blood from his head and collapse. Now, in the original timeline, Sanji's exoskeleton was strong enough to recover. However, for this timeline to work, we will assume that while Sanji is slowly recovering thanks to his exoskeleton, Vegapunk, being basically the smartest character in all of One Piece, comes up with a contingency plan in case things go south. Now, what is this plan, you might ask? Well, you see, in One Piece, DNA is called the lineage factor, and Vegapunk explicitly stated that memories, experiences, and elements of the soul are stored in the lineage factor, which is exactly how the Seraphim possess the fighting styles and personality quirks of the warlords they were cloned from. And we know for an absolute fact that Bartholomew Kuma's Nikyu Nikyu no Mi can push out abstract, intangible concepts. And on Egghead, we saw Kuma push his own memories and consciousness out of his body into a giant, tangible bubble. Then, there is Sora's medicine and Sanji's unique mutation, where Sanji is the only human in the world whose lineage factor was forcibly modified by a judge, but then violently countered by the medicine his mother Sora took, making his DNA a literal battleground of science and human spirits, acting like an open radio receiver across time. Vegapunk, knowing all of this, plans to use the Mother Flame to transmit Sanji's memories back to his past self. He also decides not to tell Sanji or anyone about this plan. From here onward, everything stays pretty much the same, just like in the original story, up until Saturn lethally wounds Vegapunk. And well, let's just say that Sanji would definitely not like that happening to Vegapunk. After all, we know that Sanji wanted to have Vegapunk help him achieve his lifelong dream of becoming invisible, and not through the raid suit that he refuses to use. But the question here is, why did Sanji want this ability, you may ask? Well, let's just ask him. I heard your dream was to become invisible. Why?
Because invisibility means freedom, to move without being noticed, to protect without interference, unlike some who just bleed and complain.
Yeah, of course that's the reason, and nothing pervy like spying on women, right? But how can you chat with your favorite anime characters as well? Well, by downloading this new free app called Polybuzz, you can find yourself in all kinds of situations and discussions like that all the time. One of my favorite parts is the wide selection of anime characters they have, and with which you can chat with for literally hours. Gojo, Zoro, Goku, or even your favorite waifus like Makima, Shinobu, and Nico Robin. Plus, even more than that, you can even build your very own AI characters, customize them the way you want, and start chatting with them about anything. Free, enjoyable, and the best part? As an anime fan, you will never get bored of it, as the selection of anime characters they have is honestly endless. Use code AKA88 to get access to 3 days premium membership completely free of charge. Use my link in the description down below to download Polybuzz Chat AI and start chatting with your favorite anime characters today. Believe me, you will not regret it. But now, let's get back to our video. Immediately, Sanji steps in, carries an injured Vegapunk, and flees the scene, just like in the original timeline. And Vegapunk tells Sanji to let him die, but Sanji refuses. Seeing Sanji's resolve and knowing they can't win this battle without any help, Vegapunk decides to go ahead with his emergency plan, and he tells Sanji to take him to the Mother Flame. Sanji refuses, but after much persuasion by Vegapunk, he agrees. Before reaching there, Kizaru locates them. Sanji tries to save Vegapunk, but is brutally injured by Kizaru, who wastes no time piercing Vegapunk with a light sword. As Sanji carries his heavily injured body from the scene, they eventually reach the Mother Flame. Using his absolute final breath, Vegapunk commands Esper to use the Paw fruit and physically push Sanji's consciousness out of his battered body. The massive memory bubble is immediately beamed into Punk Records. Vegapunk smiles as the light leaves his eyes, dying peacefully in Sanji's arms, knowing he has just given Sanji a second chance to fix everything. Sanji's memories aren't sent back in time physically. Instead, the raw data of adult Sanji's soul is broadcasted along his own genetic frequency, seeking out the origin point of his unique DNA. The broadcast shoots backward through time, hitting its mark at the exact moment young Sanji is getting bullied by his siblings. The immense data of adult Sanji completely overwrites the 4-year-old Sanji's brain. This shocks him, but just before he can even begin to process what is happening, Yanji rushes in to deliver the final stomp while Sanji is down, mocking it right as Yanji's foot is about to crush him. In a brief moment of clarity, Sanji uses observation haki and catches Yanji's ankle. This shocks all of his siblings. Sanji, realizing this could cause problems, quickly attributes it to a lucky mistake, and he gets beaten even more painfully. But thanks to his adult memories, he is able to take the beating without much trouble. Months go by, and Sanji begins to realize the truth. Vegapunk managed to send him back to the past. He questions how this is even possible, but knowing how things end up in the future, he decides to ensure he saves everyone and makes sure none of his friends get hurt. At this point, Sanji secretly trains his hockey and physical body for months after gaining his memories. He continues to act the part of the failure to avoid judges' suspicion, but he makes sure to spend quality time with his mother, making her final days incredibly happy with his advanced cooking. In the original timeline, he would often cook for his mother, and even though the food was really bad, she would eat it just to make him happy. This time, Sanji is an exceptional chef, and thanks to his memories, he's able to make amazing meals, making his mom even happier. Knowing the exact moment she dies, Sanji ensures he is by her side. She tells him how much she loves him and how she knows he will grow into a fine, gentle man. Even though Sanji already knew she would die, these words pierce through his heart, forcing him to cry like a baby. Just like that, she passes away. Judge, just like in the original timeline, sends Sanji to the prison and fakes his death. Sanji was expecting this. He doesn't cry or shed a single tear. While the German kingdom is crossing the red line into the East Blue to wage war, he is visited by his sister, who uses her superhuman strength to break the bars of his cell. Just like that, Sanji manages to escape Germa this time without the deep, lingering trauma. From here, everything goes pretty much the same as the original timeline, with Sanji ending up at the cruise ship. Here, he meets Zeph. When the cruise ship is attacked and the storm hits, Sanji doesn't just fall into the ocean. Using his adult intellect, he secretly raids the ship's pantry and stuffs high-calorie rations into a waterproof sack before jumping to save Zeph. When they're stranded on the rock, Sanji presents the sack. Zeph never has to eat his own leg. They survive the starvation, and when they're rescued, Zeph opens the Baratier with both legs intact. This is crucial because a two-legged Prime Zeph training a secretly overpowered Sanji means Sanji's base stats skyrocket way beyond his canon East Blue levels. Now from here, Sanji knows that Luffy, Zoro, Nami, and Usopp would eventually arrive at the East Blue, so he decides to train his body to the absolute limit, getting stronger for the future battles to come. Just like in the original, the Straw Hats show up at Baratier. Sanji treats them kindly, serving them meals without them even asking. This shocks the Straw Hats. When Don Krieg and his crew arrive, Sanji knows he needs to let the Straw Hats grow stronger, so he lets Luffy fight Don Krieg. Luffy needs this fight to establish his unyielding power. However, Sanji uses his insane speed to secretly disarm Krieg's MH5 poison gas bombs before they can be fired, ensuring the Baratier takes zero collateral damage. Sanji knows Zoro better than almost anyone. He knows that Zoro's encounter with Mihawk is the most important foundational moment of Zoro's life. It humbles him, establishes the sheer gap between the East Blue and the New World, and most importantly, it forces Zoro to make his tearful vow to Luffy: I will never lose again. If Sanji steps in and uses his Yonko commander level strength to clash with Mihawk, he would disrespect Zoro's dream, shatter Zoro's pride, and prevent Zoro from ever gaining the drive he needs to become the world's strongest swordsman. Sanji is too smart and has too much respect for his stupid Marimo brother to steal his moment. And just like that, Sanji lets Zoro take his legendary L because it is required for his character growth. However, when Zoro is pulled from the water, he is bleeding out. In the original timeline, they relied on basic first aid. In this timeline, Sanji steps in smoothly. He patches Zoro up with perfect precision and feeds him the recovery broth. Because of Sanji's medical prep and advanced cooking, Zoro's fatal wound heals twice as fast. When they eventually reach Arlong Park, Zoro isn't severely handicapped by his fever and stitches tearing open. He fights Hachan at near full strength, suffering way less unnecessary damage. Just before they arrive at Arlong Park, Sanji knows Nami's emotional climax. Asking Luffy for help is the most important moment of her life. He absolutely cannot interfere with Arlong until after that happens. When Luffy gets stuck in the concrete and thrown into the water, Sanji dives in. But instead of struggling with Kurubi, Sanji uses Blue Walk to move like a torpedo. He shatters the concrete instantly with a basic hockey kick, throws Luffy onto dry land, and one-shots Kurubi before the fishman even realizes what happened. Sanji intercepts Captain Nezumi before he can confiscate Nami's 100 million berries. Sanji knocks the Marines out, hides the money securely, and leaves. Because Arlong still lied to Nami about the deal, she still breaks down and asks Luffy for help. Luffy still destroys Arlong Park, just like in the original timeline. But this time, when the dust settles, Nami has her freedom and the 100 million berries to properly invest in her dream. At Logtown, Sanji sends his Buggy and Alvida plotting with his observation haki. Does he stop them? No. Sanji knows that Luffy smiling in the face of death on Roger's execution stand is the exact moment Zoro and Sanji truly realize they're following the future Pirate King. He stands by and lets the lightning strike from Dragon. When Smoker pins Luffy down, Sanji steps in. Instead of running, Sanji casually deflects Smoker's Sea Stone Jute with an armament haki kick. Smoker is shocked that an East Blue cook has haki. But before Sanji has to actually fight a Marine captain and raise his bounty too early, Sanji senses a monstrous, overwhelming haki approaching. Monkey D. Dragon. Knowing that confronting Dragon would disrupt the timeline, Sanji instantly backs off, allowing Dragon to use his wind powers to blow them out to sea, flawlessly keeping the father-son lore intact. During the Reverse Mountain arc, when the Straw Hats enter the Grand Line, thanks to his memories, Sanji knows Laboon's tragic story. Instead of fighting the whale, Sanji pulls out a flute he bought in Loketown and plays Bink's sake. Laboon calms down instantly. Sanji tells Crocus the truth about Brook and the Rumpar Pirates, promising they will bring him back. When Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday, aka Vivi, show up, Sanji captures them instantly, forcing them to spill the entire Baroque Works hierarchy before Alabasta is even on the horizon. Fast forward to Whiskey Peak, and in the original timeline, Zoro fights 100 bounty hunters, and then Zoro and Luffy have a ridiculously stupid, out-of-character fight because Luffy thinks Zoro attacked innocent people. Thanks to his memories, Sanji knows this would happen, so he plans ahead to prevent it. In the original timeline, Sanji gets surrounded by beautiful women, drinks his weight in booze, and completely passes out, making him useless when the attack happens. Sanji knows exactly who these people are, Baroque Works bounty hunters, but he also knows he has to play his part so they don't get suspicious. He absolutely still flirts with them. He's still Sanji after all. He acts completely charmed. He drinks heavily, but his new world, genetically awakened body has a metabolism so ridiculously high that alcohol literally cannot make him drunk. He drinks barrels of it just to show off, but his mind remains razor sharp. When the time is right, Sanji intentionally slumps over and fakes passing out with a goofy smile on his face. He is wide awake, actively blanketing the entire island in his observation haki. He knows Nami is faking it to steal their treasure, and he knows Zoro is faking it to fight them. But why doesn't Sanji wake up and help Zoro? Because he respects his wings. Sanji knows Zoro just got Sandai Kitetsu and Yubashiri in Loketown. Zoro is itching to test his new blades, and 100 low-level bounty hunters is the perfect warm-up. Sanji stays asleep on the floor, listening to the fight with a smirk. He only keeps his haki focused on two things: making sure no one sneaks onto the Going Merry, and making sure no one tries to slit Luffy or Usopp's throats while they actually sleep. He patiently waits until Luffy wakes up. The exact second Luffy wakes up and inflates his stomach to use Gomu Gomu no Bazooka on Zoro. Thinking he's trying to kill innocent people, Sanji drops the asleep act. Sanji uses Soru to appear directly behind Luffy, and before Luffy can launch his attack, Sanji delivers a hard, precise kick to the back of Luffy's head, slamming his captain face first into the dirt. Sanji steps over him, lights a fresh cigarette, and says, "Look closely, you idiot. Notice the hidden guns and poisoned daggers on those nice people? They're bounty hunters." Because Sanji has the aura of an experienced Yonko commander, his serious tone instantly snaps Luffy out of his gag anger. The ridiculous fight never happens. Zoro gives Sanji a respectful nod, and the crew remains completely unified. In canon, the Baroque Works officer agents arrive to assassinate Vivi, leading to a bunch of chaotic running around and explosions. Sanji knows Mr. Five's booger bombs are a destructive nuisance. He doesn't even let them start their monologue. As Mr. Five raises his hand to flick an explosive, Sanji vanishes. He appears directly in front of Mr. Five and delivers a casual collier shoot to his jaw, knocking him unconscious instantly before a single explosion goes off. He then catches Miss Valentine out of the air by her umbrella before she can alter her weight, politely but firmly disarming her. Sanji then walks over to a terrified Vivi and Iguro. He gives Vivi a perfect princely bow and makes her comfortable just like before. They set sail instantly with Vivi under their official protection. Moving on to the Drum Island arc. Because Sanji has been feeding the crew Kamabaka Kingdom's attack cuisine since the East Blue, Nami's immune system is incredible. She still gets bitten by the tick, but the fever progresses way slower. When Wapol attacks them at sea, Sanji doesn't even give him a chance to eat them merry. He instantly kicks Wapol's ship over the horizon. Once they reach the island, there is no agonizing barefoot climb. Sanji simply scoops up Nami and Luffy, activates activates Skywalk and Geppo jumps straight up the mountain, reaching Dr. Kureha's castle in 5 minutes flat. He still lets Luffy fight Wapol at the top so he can win Chopper's admiration, but that grueling near-death experience from the original timeline is completely erased. Next up is Alabasta. Here, Sanji knows Luffy must lose his first fight to Crocodile. It's the only way Luffy figures out that water solidifies Crocodile's sand. So Sanji lets the duel happen, but using his tactical genius, he calculates exactly where Luffy will fall and secretly buries a large, durable water barrel right beneath the quicksand pit. When Luffy gets impaled and sinks, he instantly hits the barrel, saving himself without needing to rely on Robin's pity or pure luck. As for Mr. 1, Sanji leaves him strictly for Zoro. He knows that Zoro has to learn how to cut steel if he's going to survive in the new world. Then comes Sanji's flawless victory. He knows exactly where the massive bomb is hidden, inside the clock tower. 10 minutes before it goes off, Sanji uses Skywalk to reach the top, casually one-shotting the Baroque Works snipers. He doesn't even bother cutting the fuse. Instead, he coats the entire bomb in advanced armament hockey to contain the blast and kicks it straight into the upper stratosphere. The bomb explodes harmlessly in space. Pell never has to fake his death, and the Civil War ends perfectly. But at this point, Sanji realizes he's been interfering a bit too much. You have to remember, Sanji is canonically the most tactical member of the Straw Hats. Back in the original timeline, he was the mastermind who adopted the Mr. Prince persona to outsmart Crocodile, sabotaged the Maxim and Skypiea, secretly boarded the Puffing Tom, and closed the gates of justice at Eni's lobby. With that level of strategic foresight, he knows exactly how the butterfly effect works. If he keeps altering the timeline, the rest of the crew will never face the hardships they need to truly get stronger. So he decides to lay low. He allows the Jaya and Skypiea arcs to play out exactly as they did in the original, ensuring Robin and Chopper join and bond with the crew naturally. However, because Sanji retains all his memories of their future fighting styles, he steps up as a mentor. He offers to train the Straw Hats, leaking just enough advanced information to make them exponentially stronger than they ever were in the original timeline. When they arrive at Long Ring Longland, Sanji simply doesn't tolerate Foxy's cheating. Using Future Sight and sheer speed, he physically intercepts every single one of Foxy's slow beams and hidden traps. Thanks to him, the Straw Hats sweep the Davy Back fight flawlessly in record time. From here, everything goes smoothly for the crew until they encounter Admiral Aokiji. Sanji knows Aokiji is a necessary wake-up call for the Straw Hats, but he outright refuses to let Robin be traumatized or watch Luffy get frozen solid. The moment Aokiji makes his move, Sanji flashes in front of the crew. He unleashes a devastating, advanced armament-coated kick that shatters the Admiral's ice instantly. Aokiji's eyes widen. He immediately realizes the Straw Hats cook is already operating at a Yonko commander level. Deciding this crew is far too dangerous and complex for a casual arrest, Aokiji backs off and leaves with a stern warning. The crew doesn't suffer a crushing defeat this time, but they are still completely terrified by the Admiral's sheer scale of power. This brush with top-tier strength is exactly what they needed, motivating them to train even harder under Sanji's mentorship and skyrocketing their abilities for the battles ahead. Moving into the Water 7 arc, Sanji completely flips the script. Knowing the Frankie family is targeting their gold, he personally escorts Usopp through the city. The moment the bounty hunters try to jump them, Sanji obliterates the entire squad in seconds, securely locking down the 200 million berries needed to repair the ship. Later, when he crosses paths with Robin, he secretly slips her a Denden Mushi. He knows she's about to be blackmailed by CP9, so he whispers a simple instruction: play along, keep this on you. We're coming for you. Then comes the breaking point. When Luffy and Usopp inevitably clash over the Going Merry's failing health, Sanji refuses to let history repeat itself. Stepping in as the mature mediator, he physically restrains the two of them before the argument turns violent. He sits Usopp down and calmly explains the harsh, undeniable reality of the Grand Line. He completely prevents that heartbreaking, crew-shattering duel. Usopp still temporarily leaves the crew out of stubborn pride, but the deep emotional trauma is entirely avoided. Instead of fighting Frankie, Sanji tracks the cyborg down early. Leveraging his future memories, Sanji hands him a highly detailed, rough sketch of the Thousand Sunny. He looks Frankie dead in the eye and says, "You're going to build this for us. We'll provide the Atom Wood." Frankie is absolutely stunned, but his shipwright soul is instantly intrigued. When the crew reaches Eni's lobby, Sanji lets the iconic standoff on the courthouse roof happen exactly as he remembers it. He knows Robin needs the emotional catharsis of hearing Luffy scream, "Tell me you want to live," and he knows Sogeking needs to burn the world government flag to solidify the crew's resolve. But the absolute second the drawbridge drops, Sanji stops playing the rookie. He doesn't waste time hunting for keys. Using advanced observation hockey, he pinpoints the exact room where Spandam is dragging Robin. Standing in his way is CP9's Jabra. Jabra barely has time to trigger his wolf transformation before Sanji is already behind him. Using advanced armament hockey, Sanji delivers a single devastating blunt force kick to Jabra's neck. The strike completely bypasses his Tekai, knocking the assassin out cold without Sanji even needing to ignite Diable Jamba. He grabs the keys and moves like a blur. Sanji knows CP9's ultimate goal is the Pluton blueprints. Before Spandam can finalize his trap, Sanji corners Frankie. Frankie still sees himself as a criminal and a villain to the Straw Hats, but Sanji breaks right through his defenses by speaking about Tom's legacy. He hits Frankie on a deeply emotional level. Frankie is paralyzed with shock. How does this blonde cook know about Tom? How does he know the truth about Pluton? Realizing Sanji's absolute sincerity, Frankie proudly burns the blueprints, destroying CP9's dream once and for all. Smirking, Sanji tosses Frankie a wrench he brought all the way from Water 7. Because Sanji handled the CP9 agent so efficiently, the crew escapes on the Going Merry one last time, giving her a tearful but peaceful Viking funeral. And because Sanji accelerated the timeline, the transition to the Thousand Sunny happens flawlessly. Frankie joins the crew not as a fugitive, but because Sanji's prophecy about the lion ship inspired him to reach his absolute peak as a builder. Thanks to Sanji playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers, the Straw Hats emerge from Eni's lobby nearly complete. They have their shipwright, their archaeologist, and a captain who is finally starting to realize his own Yonko-level potential. Just like in the original timeline, the crew navigates the eerie fog of the Florian Triangle and recruits Brook. When they reach Thriller Bark, Sanji knows Muria is a washed-up, lazy shadow stealer. However, he deliberately lets the arc play out exactly as it did originally. Why? Because he knows the crew desperately needs the experience of coordinating to take down giant-class enemies like Oars before they brave the new world. Then comes the Subodi Archipelago arc. Sanji knows this traumatic defeat is the necessary catalyst for the crew to realize they aren't ready for the second half of the Grand Line. He lets Kuma's separation happen, but with one massive tactical adjustment. Knowing how critical the Impel Down and Marineford sequence will be, Sanji stays glued to his captain. When Kuma strikes, both Luffy and Sanji are sent flying to Amazon Lily. Once they land on the Island of Women, Sanji enacts his master plan. Knowing they need Boa Hancock's clearance to infiltrate the Great Prison, Sanji requests a private audience with the Pirate Empress. Tapping into his own royal trauma and deep hatred for oppression, Sanji makes her a solemn vow. If she helps Luffy save his brother, the Straw Hats will eventually tear down the Celestial Dragons once and for all. Deeply moved by Sanji's fiery conviction and Luffy's pure nature, Hancock bypasses protocol and secures their hidden route to Impel Down. Impel Down is designed to be an inescapable labyrinth, but Sanji already has the entire blueprint mapped out in his mind. Most importantly, he remembers that Magellan's venom nearly killed Luffy. When the Warden unleashes his poison, Sanji steps up, igniting Ifrit Jabba and coating his legs in a dense, impenetrable barrier of advanced armament hockey. Sanji violently kicks away Magellan's Hydra heads without a single drop of venom touching his skin. He doesn't kill Magellan, but he completely incapacitates the Warden with a devastating barrage, clearing the path. Because of Sanji's efficiency, they reach level 6 3 hours early. They free Ace and Jinbei, entirely bypassing the agonizing marine transfer process, and immediately secure a battleship to escape. Ace is saved. There's no tragic donut punch in this timeline, but the War of the Best still kicks off. The Moby Dick surfaces in Marineford, but when Whitebeard receives the transmission that his beloved son is already safe and healthy, the legendary Yonko simply tilts his head back and laughs. With no hostage to execute, Sengoku's entire master strategy crumbles on the spot. Sanji holds the absolute front line alongside Whitebeard, utilizing his future sight and advanced armament to effortlessly intercept and neutralize the Admiral's Logia attacks. Then, Blackbeard arrives at the height of the chaos, plotting to kill a weakened Whitebeard and steal his fruit. Instead, Teach walks into an absolute nightmare. he is faced with a 90% healthy emperor and a time-traveling cook who knows every single one of his secrets. Teach is thoroughly cooked. When Blackbeard attempts to use his black hole, Sanji intercepts him instantly. Whitebeard pins Teach to the ground with a localized quake bubble, shattering his bones. Sanji then leaps into the air, activating Ifrit Jamba to its absolute maximum. Sanji delivers a massive, fiery kick straight into Teach's chest. Because Teach's fruit forces him to feel double the pain, the combined shockwaves of Whitebeard's quake and Sanji's blue flames liquefy his internal organs, killing Blackbeard instantly. Because Ace survives, Luffy never falls into that catatonic state of depression, ensuring the three ASL brothers will finally reunite in the future. However, Sanji's mission isn't over. He knows the unimaginable threats waiting for them in Wano and Egghead. Even with Ace alive, the Straw Hats need to become vastly stronger to prevent future tragedies. Sanji sits Luffy down and convinces him that they still need to send the 3D2Y message to the scattered crew. Luffy agrees, knowing he needs to master Haki to truly protect his family. He and Ace make a promise to meet again in the New World, and with that, the legendary 2-year time skip officially begins. Sanji decides to go to Momoro Island. He demands the 99 attack cuisine recipes from Ivankov on day 1. Knowing the absolute horrors waiting for them in the New World, Sanji spends the next 2 years meditating, fighting, and pushing his physical limits to their absolute extremes. He completely maxes out his future sight and awakens his own latent advanced conqueror's Haki. By the time the 2 years are up, he is exponentially faster, stronger, and more lethal than he ever was in the original timeline. The Straw Hats come together just like in the original, but this time they are way stronger than they ever were at this point in the story. When they hit Fishman Island, the blood transfusion subplot is entirely erased. Sanji dominates Watatsumi effortlessly, and when the massive ship Noah threatens to crush the island, Sanji uses Blue Walk to maneuver perfectly underwater. He joins Luffy, firing off massive water displacement Ifrit Jamba kicks to break the ship apart faster, actively preventing what happens to the original. When the crew reaches Punk Hazard, the chaos kicks off exactly as it did before, with Trafalgar Law using his Shambles ability to swap the Straw Hats' bodies. Sanji inevitably ends up trapped in Nami's physical form, and in the original story, this left him severely nerfed. But in this timeline, Sanji understands a fundamental rule of the world. Haki is tied to the user's spirit and willpower, not to their physical flesh. Because his soul retains its Yonko Commander level strength, Sanji's observation and armament Haki remain absolutely lethal. Even in a body with lower physical specs, he effortlessly defends the crew, casually intercepting Caesar's troops and the Yeti Cool brothers with terrifying precision, all while making sure Nami's actual body doesn't take a single scratch. Once Law restores everyone to their rightful bodies, Sanji crosses paths with Vice Admiral Virgo. This is a massive turning point. In the original timeline, Virgo's brutal armament Haki fractured Sanji's shin, giving the corrupt Marine the upper hand and establishing the physical gap between them. This time, the dynamic is entirely reversed. When Virgo charges in and launches his notorious Haki-coated shin kick, Sanji doesn't just block it. Channeling his newly mastered advanced armament, Sanji meets the strike head-on. The impact is deafening, but it's not Sanji's bone that cracks. Sanji's overwhelming, concentrated Haki completely eclipses the Vice Admiral's, shattering Virgo's leg to absolute dust on contact, and completely folding the Don Quixote executive before the fight even truly begins. At Dressrosa, Sanji intercepts Doflamingo in the sky, holding off the Warlord with ease to buy the crew time. When Big Mom's scouting ship appears, Sanji completely destroys it before it can even aim at the Thousand Sunny. He smoothly leads the Curly Hat Pirates to Zou, perfectly clears Caesar's poison gas, and willingly goes with Bege, but not before leaving a clear, strategic note for Luffy outlining his exact plan. This is where Sanji completely breaks the script. He already deployed the Straw Hat Grand Fleet to the East Blue to protect Zeph and the Baratier. He has absolutely zero fear of his father, Vinsmoke Judge. When Luffy arrives, Sanji doesn't brutally beat up his captain. Instead, they clash briefly for show, and Sanji whispers the entire assassination plot into Luffy's ear. Then comes the issue of Charlotte Pudding. Sanji knows she is acting, and he knows her mission is to blow his brains out at the altar. But instead of letting the trap play out, Sanji uses his future sight to corner her privately before the wedding. When she drops the act and reveals her third eye to traumatize him, Sanji doesn't flinch. Because he isn't desperate or fooled, he simply smiles and genuinely calls her eye beautiful. His pure, unfiltered kindness shatters her lifetime of indoctrination instantly. She completely breaks down and flips to his side, turning Big Mom's greatest weapon into Sanji's personal ally before the tea party even begins. During the wedding, Sanji humiliates his brothers, saving them purely to mock Judge's perfect science. He effortlessly dodges Katakuri's jelly bean assassination attempt, bakes the replacement cake in record time, and secures the escape route using future sight. Pedro never has to blow himself up. The crew escapes with 0 casualties. The Vinsmoke name is cleared, and Sanji's bounty skyrockets to reflect his true, terrifying Yonko commander power. During the raid on Onigashima, the Alliance charges the rooftop. Kaido and Big Mom immediately launch their devastating combined attack, Ocean Sovereignty. Now, in the original timeline, this attack shattered bones and nearly wiped out the supernovas. This time, Sanji steps up, igniting Ifrit Jamba to its absolute maximum, and layering his legs in advanced armament, Sanji acts as a blazing shield. He uses immense speed and kinetic force, not to block the attack head-on, but to parry and redirect the brunt of the shockwave into the sky, saving the Alliance without breaking a single bone in his body. He follows up with a brutal, flaming kick to Kaido's jaw, rattling the Emperor's brain before deliberately splitting the battlefield to give everyone their proper 1v1s. Sanji leaves the rooftop to his captain and drops down to take on Queen the Plague. Knowing Ace is alive, having trained purely to protect his family, Sanji pushes Queen to the absolute limit. There's no identity crisis here. He systematically dismantles the cyborg, bypassing Queen's ancient Zoan durability with perfect armor-piercing Ifrit Jamba strikes. Because Sanji perfectly positioned the board, there's no need for him to babysit. Usopp is sniping Tobiropo from miles away with awakened observation hockey. Frankie, Robin, Jinbei, everyone locks in and completely dominates their matchups. But the reality of fighting two emperors remains. Their sheer, overwhelming durability of the Yonko starts crushing the Alliance's morale. Just when it looks like the raid is about to fail, when Luffy is forced to one knee under Kaido's massive shadow, the horizon literally catches fire. Ace crashes into the battlefield like a meteor, and he didn't come alone. Marco the Phoenix, Jozu, Vista, the remnants of the Whitebeard pirates arrive, roaring under the old flag. This is the exact catalyst Luffy needs. He looks up, sees his big brother standing between him and Kaido, and the immense pressure crushing his chest just vanishes. That desperate need to survive turns into pure, unbreakable joy. The drums of liberation start beating. Gear 5 awakens right then and there, vastly stronger than canon because it's fueled by absolute relief and trust instead of just pure desperation. The moment instantly flips. Sanji blasts back into the fray, teaming up with Ace and Marco for a devastating Sky Lightning combo of Blue Ifrit, Mira Mira, and Phoenix Flames. Seeing this, the rest of the Straw Hats push way past their limits. The raid ends in absolute victory. Kaido and Big Mom are put into the ground. Wano is completely liberated. Momonosuke takes the Shogun title, but everyone knows the truth. The Straw Hats and the Whitebeard remnants are Wano's true protectors. Everything goes smoothly for the Straw Hats right up until the Egghead arc. Here, Sanji knows the reality. This is the arc that changed the One Piece world forever. He knows the absolute stakes. Vegapunk's assassination, Kuma's tragic sacrifice, and the overwhelming arrival of the Gorosei. He vows to completely rewrite this timeline for good. First up, he doesn't waste time playing detective. The second they step into the Labo phase, he uses his mastered future sight, pinpoints York's exact location, and knocks her out cold before she can issue a single command. The entire internal sabotage plot is erased. The Seraphim remain under Vegapunk's absolute control, instantly turning them into Yonko tier defenders for the crew. When CP0 breaches the island, Sanji already knows Stussy is a sleeper agent and signals her to quietly neutralize Kaku. But awakened Lucci Sanji handles him personally. Before Lucci can even lock eyes on Luffy, Sanji intercepts him. Combining his Germa exoskeleton with maxed out advanced armament, Sanji outclasses the Leopard in raw speed and power, folding the CP0 leader with a brutal Ifrit Jamba combo without taking a single scratch. The real test begins when the Buster Call drops. Admiral Kizaru tries to lightspeed blitz the Labo face. Instead of the chaos splitting the crew like in the original timeline, Sanji's observation hockey is so dialed in that he intercepts Kizaru mid-air. Light kicks violently clash against blue flames. Sanji matches the Admiral's speed for speed, perfectly stalling the assassination attempt. Then, Saint Saturn lands. The Gorosei unleashes his demonic, paralyzing aura, trying to pin the crew down. Instead of freezing up, Sanji violently unleashes his own awakened advanced Conqueror's Haki. The clash of wills completely shatters Saturn's invisible grip, keeping the entire alliance moving. Because Sanji perfectly locked down the board so early, the tragic domino effect never triggers. Vegapunk is never stabbed. And when Kuma crashes onto Egghead, he doesn't land in a desperate slaughterhouse. He lands in a heavily defended safe zone. Bonnie gets a real, tearful reunion with her father without the looming threat of death. Vegapunk still broadcasts the Void Century secrets to the globe, but this time he does it completely unharmed, sitting safely on the deck of the Thousand Sunny. The Straw Hats make a flawless, surgical escape to Elbaf, turning the world-breaking Egghead incident into an absolute Straw Hat masterclass. Thanks for watching this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and click on this video next for more great anime content. Go on, check it out!